Have you ever let a flash of anger ruin your entire day? A cutting remark, a rude comment, and suddenly your emotions take over, throwing you off balance, leading to words you later regret. Why does anger make you feel so out of control? More importantly, how do you reclaim that control? The Stoics believed your mind, not others or circumstances, is the true battlefield. They taught that true strength isn't in shouting louder, but in choosing not to react at all. Opt for calm over chaos, refusing to hand your peace to those who don't deserve it. This video will show you how to never let anger or frustration control you again, not by suppressing emotions, but by rewiring how you respond. You'll master Stoic techniques forged in life's battles, enabling you to pause before reacting, detach from what doesn't serve you, and command your emotions like a warrior of the mind. Struggling doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Every man faces the fire of anger and the sting of disrespect, but few learn to rise above it. Now is your time to change. If you're exhausted from being ruled by emotions, this is for you. Like this video, subscribe for more Stoic strategies, and share it with someone who needs to reclaim their peace. Because when you grasp Stoicism, you don't just tame anger, you become unbreakable, and that changes everything. First, see anger as a habit you can break. You weren't born angry. You weren't born to snap at others on the road, slam doors, or replay arguments in your mind for hours. Those reactions, which now feel instinctive, are learned, built over years of stress, ego, and a world telling men to be tough, loud, and dominant. But the truth is, real strength doesn't need to roar. It's quiet. The most powerful man in the room stands unmoved, doesn't argue back, and never lets his peace be broken by petty slights. Anger isn't just an emotion, it's a habit. And like any habit, it can be unlearned. But first, you must see it for what it is. A chain reaction you keep fueling. Someone cuts you off. Your boss belittles you. Your partner says something sharp. And before your mind catches up, your mouth fires back. It's a vicious cycle. Most men stay trapped in it their whole lives, believing it's just who they are. But the Stoics saw it differently. They didn't view anger as character. They saw it as a weakness disguised as strength. Epictetus said, "Anyone who can be provoked to anger is a slave to it." Harsh words, but true. When you react blindly, you hand your power to the very thing that triggered you. You become predictable, manipulable, and emotionally drained. Now picture this. You're in line at the DMV, waiting an hour. Someone cuts in front of you without a second thought. You feel the anger rising, chest tight, jaw clenched, the urge to lash out. That moment is your battlefield. You can fight the same losing war you always have. Or pause and ask one simple question. Does anger make this better? You know the answer. You've exploded before. What did it get you? More stress, regret, and distance from the man you want to be. This is where Stoicism shifts everything. You don't need to suppress emotions. You need to step outside them. Observe them like clouds passing in the sky. Acknowledge them, but don't let them steer you. Your mind, your rational self, is the one in command. That's the power Stoics built through discipline. Most men believe their anger is justified, that staying calm is weak or indifferent. But the opposite is true. Anyone can explode. That's easy. What's hard what demands discipline, maturity. And true grit is holding your ground when everything around you shakes. When someone disrespects you and you don't flinch. That's dominance. When life throws chaos at you and you stand firm, that's control. So next time anger surges in your chest, what do? You pause, take a deep breath. Remind yourself, this anger is a habit. I don't need to carry it anymore. Then walk away, not out of weakness, but because you're strong enough to let go of what doesn't deserve your energy. You're not here to be provoked. You're here to claim your power. That starts not by changing the world, but by changing how you respond. React like a man who masters his mind. React like a Stoic. Second, master yourself instead of trying to control others. Yelling, snapping, throwing sarcasm, or storming off is easy. That's how most men respond. When they feel disrespected, they lash out to reclaim some sense of power. But that power is an illusion. It flares up and fades fast, always leaving you weaker than before. True control doesn't come from overpowering others. It comes from mastering yourself in the heat of the moment. Anger tricks you. It tells you that if you don't react, you're weak. That if someone pushes you, you must push back harder. That silence is surrender. But think about it. How often has anger actually solved anything you yell? They yell louder. You prove your point but lose a relationship. You win the argument but lose sleep over what you said. In the end, you're drained because you never truly took charge. You just reacted on instinct. Picture this. You're in a meeting at work. Your manager unfairly criticizes your idea in front of everyone. Dripping with arrogance, you feel the anger rising. Every part of you wants to fire back. Defend your honor. Shoot him down. But something stops you. A voice inside says, if I respond now, it'll only get worse. So you pause. You breathe. You say, thanks for the feedback. I'll review it. Then you move on. Later, in private, you address it with clarity, not emotion. That's mastery. That's strength. That's Stoicism in action. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. The Stoics didn't believe in letting ego drive them. They believed in thoughtful responses over knee-jerk reactions, clarity over chaos. They understood what most men still don't: trying to control others is a losing game. What you can always control is how you choose to show up. The biggest mistake men make is thinking silence is weakness, that walking away diminishes their manhood. But recall the last time someone lost control in front of you. Did you respect them more? Or did they lose credibility? Anger is loud, but respect is quiet. When you stay calm in the face of provocation, you become untouchable, and that shakes others more than shouting ever could. The Stoic path doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you choose when and how to speak on your own terms, not anger's. When you learn to delay your reaction until emotions settle, you create space. In that space, you find wisdom. You make sharper decisions. You preserve your dignity. Next time someone disrespects you, don't take the bait. Let them diminish themselves. You stand tall not because you're afraid to react, but because you choose not to get swept into their storm. You rise above it all. Not for them, but for you. That's true mastery. It's not about having the last word. It's about keeping the last piece of yourself intact. So, start today. Don't try to control the room. Control your breath, your words, your gaze, your energy. You'll walk away from every conflict with what most men never hold on to: your dignity unbroken. That's a victory no one can take from you. Third, build calm like a muscle through daily practice. You can't expect to stay composed in chaos if you've never trained in silence and stillness. This is what most men overlook. They wait until anger, insult, or overwhelm hits before trying to take control. But emotional strength doesn't appear on command. It's forged, it's crafted, it's built in quiet moments when no one's watching. Just as your body can't grow strong without consistent training, your mind can't stay calm under pressure without daily practice. Mastering yourself isn't a switch you flip, it's a skill you hone. Think of a man who's never lifted weights. He steps into the gym and tries to bench 300 pounds. He'll get crushed. Emotions work the same way. If you haven't practiced pausing, breathing, and sitting with discomfort instead of reacting, the first time life hits hard, you'll buckle. Not because you're weak, but because you haven't trained. Imagine this. You come home after a long day. Your kid spills juice on your laptop. Your instinct is to yell, but something stops you. You've trained for this. Instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. You say, "Let's clean it up." That moment feels small, but it's not. It's a rep. It's strength in action. And that practice will carry you through bigger storms. Stoicism isn't a philosophy for monks on mountaintops. It's built for real life, for warriors, leaders, workers, fathers, men facing pressure, noise, and conflict daily. It teaches that peace doesn't come from isolation, but from training your mind to hold steady in the storm. And that starts with small things. Waking up early to reflect, journaling your thoughts before bed, choosing silence over sarcasm when provoked. These aren't empty rituals. They're workouts for your soul. The mistake many make is waiting for anger to flare before trying to stay calm. That's not how it works. You prepare beforehand. You build habits that sharpen focus, deepen breathing, and heighten awareness. Because when pressure hits, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of training. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius reflected daily on what triggered him, what challenged him, and how he could respond better tomorrow. Not because he was weak, but because he wanted to grow. And Epictetus, once a slave, taught that discipline starts not with grand actions, but with mastering daily thoughts and emotions. They practiced calm as a habit, not a fleeting reaction. If you want to stop being the man who loses control when things go wrong, become the man who prepares before they do. Sit with discomfort instead of distracting yourself. Notice your breath when you want to snap. Reflect at day's end, even for 5 minutes. These aren't small things. They're your emotional workouts. No one is born a stoic, and no one wakes up with perfect self-control. But the man who persists, repeats, and trains becomes unshakable. You build that calm the same way you build anything else, through effort, practice, and time. Don't wait for the world to test you. Test yourself every day, because the man who trains his mind in silence will triumph when the noise arrives. Fourth, let go of what doesn't serve you. You planned your day perfectly, up early, hit the gym, crushed work, feeling in command. Then traffic hits. Someone cancels a meeting last minute. Your boss dumps extra work without warning. Your plan crumbles, and frustration surges fast. That tightness in your chest, the heat in your throat, it's not the events. It's your resistance to them. You're not angry because things changed. You're angry because you thought they wouldn't. But the world doesn't care about your schedule. Life doesn't ask permission before shifting gears. And the tighter you cling to how you want things to go, the more you suffer. That's not weakness, it's attachment. Clinging to control you don't have becomes a trap. The man who needs everything to go smoothly to stay calm will never find peace. Letting go isn't giving up. It's recognizing what's not worth holding on to. It's learning to separate what's in your grasp from what slips through your fingers. No matter how hard you grip. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't waste energy on traffic, rude people, or deraille plants. They saved it for what they could change: their character, their mindset, their response. So when something disrupts your day, don't react. Step back. Ask yourself, is this in my control? If not, don't fuel the fire with your attention. Let it pass like a bad storm. You're not ignoring it, you're choosing not to be swept away. That's not denial, it's discipline. The biggest mistake men make is thinking control means forcing everything to go their way. But real control is adaptability. Strength isn't making the world obey, it's staying calm when it doesn't. That's why Stoicism isn't passive, it's precise. You don't stop caring. You stop wasting energy on what you can't change. And that shift unlocks your true power for what matters. Picture this. You're in a parking lot. A stranger backs into your car, leaves suddenly, and shrugs it off like it's nothing. You want to explode. You want justice. But after the first wave of emotion, you pause. You ask, will yelling at him undo the dent? Will it make him care? No. So you handle the paperwork. You stay calm. You protect your energy. And you drive away, not just with a dented bumper, but with your dignity intact. That's the right move. That's the win. Not because you let him off, but because you didn't let him take more than a piece of metal. You kept your peace, your sleep, your strength. You held on to them because you let go of what wasn't worth keeping. The Stoic's strength isn't loud. It doesn't cling. It releases. And in that release, you find true control. Start asking yourself more often, is this worth carrying in my mind? If not, let it go. Because the man who knows what to hold and what to release doesn't rage at every storm. He walks through it calmly, clearly. Unshaken, that man, even in chaos, holds the reins of control. Fifth, turn conflict into a personal challenge to forge your strength. You can't avoid conflict as long as you're alive, working, connecting, building something real. People will challenge you, misunderstand you, disrespect you, or push your limits. That's life. But most men face conflict by reacting. They see it as a threat to their pride, a moment to win or prove something. So they tense up, get loud, try to dominate. But in doing so, they miss the true nature of conflict. It's not a threat to your power, it's a mirror reflecting it. Conflict reveals where you still lack control, where your ego still pulls the strings. You're still a slave to others' opinions. That's why the Stoics saw every confrontation, every insult, every moment of unfairness, not as a problem, but as a training ground. They believed life constantly gives you chances to sharpen your mind, by refusing to get swept up in the noise. Imagine this. You're at a hardware store counter. You're patiently waiting while the clerk helps someone else. Suddenly, a guy behind you cuts in, waving his receipt, demanding service first. He's loud. People turn to look, and you're standing there, heart pounding, jaw tight, ready to snap. But you don't. Instead, you step back in your mind. You ask, what's really at stake here? My time, me ego, or my peace? And in that moment, you choose not to submit, but to rise. That's not weakness, it's controlled strength. The mistake many men make is thinking calm equals surrender. That not reacting means letting others walk over you, but letting your emotions run you, that's giving up power. The Stoic doesn't dodge conflict. He just doesn't let it control him. He speaks when necessary, but not from burning anger. He speaks from clarity, knowing the worst thing isn't being insulted, it's lowering yourself to match that disrespect. The more you see every challenge as a test, not of who's right, but of who can master themselves, the more unshakable you become. Conflict becomes your gym. You stop wasting energy on petty arguments. You don't let small people shrink your world. Instead, you use every moment to build strength. That's how Marcus Aurelius lived. He ruled an empire, faced betrayal, war, and politics, yet chose stillness. He didn't chase revenge. He chased integrity because he knew every interaction was a chance to forge himself, not just sometimes, but every day. And men who live this way don't just survive conflict, they walk through it unchanged, untouched. Next time someone provokes you, try this. Instead of reacting, stay silent. Instead of proving a point, protect your energy. Instead of letting their chaos become yours, become the calm they can't touch. Not to please anyone, not to be liked, but because you've trained yourself to rise above what doesn't deserve to bring you down. You're not here to answer every insult. You're here to sharpen yourself. And every moment of conflict is a chance to do that. Respond with control. That's how you win. And each time you do, you prove something greater than dominance. You prove you've mastered the hardest battlefield yourself, because it's your imagination that fuels your anger. The moment itself doesn't make you mad. Your mind races 10 steps ahead or spirals 10 steps back. You're not angry because of what someone said. You're angry because of the meaning behind it. What might happen next? What it says about you, or what you should have said in return. The noise in your head, that's the source of most of the pain you carry. And until you learn to stop living in the past or future, you'll keep losing control in the only moment that matters. Most men don't talk about this, but it happens all the time. Someone cuts you off in traffic. It's a few seconds of inconvenience, but in your mind, you replay it for the next 30 minutes. You imagine confronting them, yelling, showing them who's boss. You carry that weight into your next call, your next meeting, even your dinner table. The moment's gone, but your mind drags it like a chain. And that's how small things become heavy burdens, because you don't let go when they happen. Stoicism cuts through that mental chaos like a blade. It tells you there's only the present, and the present holds no insult, no imagined outcome, no history to fix. Just your breath, your action, your choice. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to return to the present whenever his thoughts wandered. He reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that guide what you do, say, and think. Not tomorrow. Not after winning an argument. The trap is believing your thoughts are truth. Just because you think it doesn't make it real. Most of what you react to isn't even real. It's just imagination. The Stoics knew an untrained mind is the root of unnecessary suffering. Your unchecked imagination creates enemies that don't exist and arguments that never happened. Try this instead. You're heading into a conversation with someone you don't like. You're braced for conflict, expecting disrespect. That tension isn't from their words. It's from the future you've already built in your head. Pause. Come back to now. Maybe they'll say something rude. Maybe not. Either way, you'll handle it better when your mind is steady, not chaotic. That's why practicing mindfulness isn't fluff. It's a tactical edge. It keeps your head clear when instinct wants to stir chaos. You don't need to sit cross-legged for hours to get there. Just notice your breath, your posture, the sounds in the room, the feel of your feet on the ground. When your mind wants to spin stories, pull it back. Train it like a muscle to stay here. Then you'll stop overreacting to things that haven't happened. You'll stop reliving what you can't fix. You'll stop rehearsing what doesn't need saying. You'll start responding not from anxiety, not from fear, but from presence. That's where your peace lies. That's where your strength lives. You can't control what happened or what's coming, but you can master this moment. And if you can own the present, even for a few breaths, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're living free. That's a power no one can take from you. 7th, release the weight of resentment before it ages you. Resentment doesn't just poison your mind, it wears down your body. You've seen it, the man who looks exhausted despite enough rest. The one who walks heavily though carrying nothing. The one startled by kindness because he's used to betrayal. That burden isn't physical, it's emotional. The longer you hold on to anger, blame, or bitterness, the more you lose energy, clarity, and the ability to feel light again. Most men don't even realize it's happening. They think they've moved on just because they're silent. But silence isn't healing. And just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean it's not shaping how you speak, how you trust, how you live. That grudge from 5 years ago still weighs on your shoulders, even in your sleep. How quick you are to snap when someone brushes a small boundary. That's why the Stoics saw forgiveness not as a moral duty but as self-preservation. Letting go isn't about making peace with what happened to you. It's about refusing to let it keep running you. Every bit of resentment you hold steals peace from your present. And no one deserves that power over your life. Not even the person who hurt you. Epictetus said, "They can chain my body, but no one, not even Zeus, can chain my will." Forgiveness is that. It's not agreeing or forgetting, it's refusing to be shackled from within. Think of a moment. Someone crossed you. Maybe they lied, walked away, or humiliated you in front of others. You told yourself you'd never forget, and maybe you haven't. But every time you think of them, your stomach tightens, your energy dips, your peace slips away. That's not strength, it's self-inflicted punishment. You're reliving what they did long after they've forgotten. And that's the trap. Thinking holding on protects you, but it weakens you. The Stoic doesn't see anger as armor. He drops it like a flame in his hand because he knows it burns the one carrying it most. Forgiveness doesn't mean trusting them again. It means reclaiming space in your heart for something better, lighter, and it all starts with a choice. Stop feeding the story of what they did. Every time you replay their mistake, you deepen the wound. So stop rehearsing the pain. Start protecting your energy. You're in the break room. Someone tosses a bitter comment. You know it's a jab. You could fire back. You could carry it home. Vent to friends. Let it spin in your mind until midnight. Or you can smile not from weakness, but because you're done carrying trash that isn't yours. You breathe deep. You walk away. And you leave the weight behind. That's not passive. It's controlled strength. It's knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And when you start letting go of resentment, you'll feel it in your posture, your sleep, your clarity of thought. Forgiveness isn't a favor to others. It's a gift to yourself. Let go, not for them, but so you don't drag the past into your present. You have more life ahead than behind. Make room for it, because the man who walks lightly moves faster, breathes deeper, and lives free. You can be that man if you're willing to set the burden down. 8th, pause before you react. It changes everything. It happens faster than you think. A sharp word, a harsh tone, an offhand remark, and you're ready to snap or slam the door. By the time you realize you're angry, the reaction's already taken over. That's how most men live on autopilot, triggered by the world outside, pulled by the tension within, and in the split second between the spark and the flame, they've lost their power. But what if that moment is where you take control back? Stoicism starts with the pause, the gap between what happens and what you do next. That's the real battlefield. Not the argument or the insult. The true fight is in that breath, that tiny delay where you choose. Do I react like I always have? Or do I respond as the man I want to be? Most don't see that gap. Emotion outruns reason. But once you notice it, you realize how much power you have and how often you've given it away. Picture this. You're at home. Your teenage son talks back. That tone, that look, it stings. You're about to snap, but something holds you back. You take a breath and say, I'll respond in a moment. That act is power, not silence from fear, but deliberate restraint. You've just broken a cycle that's played out for years in countless homes, and now you're writing a new one. The mistake is thinking that if you don't react fast, you lose respect. That hesitation is weakness. But in those 2 seconds, you gain clarity. You give your brain time to process, to choose, to aim true. That's what the Stoics trained for, not to be emotionless, but to master timing. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, don't feel. He said, don't act unless it serves a greater good. And that good often starts with silence. We live in a world that demands quick reactions. Text back now. Reply now. Defend yourself now. But emotional discipline isn't about speed, it's about precision. Saying the right thing at the right time with the right tone. You can't do that if adrenaline drives your words. You need to pause. Breathe. Name the emotion before it becomes something you regret. No need for years of meditation. Just one choice. When the pressure rises, you pause. You tell yourself, I don't need to react yet. You step into another room. Take 10 deep breaths. Ask, what outcome do I want? And only then do you speak. You act, not from ego, but from will. The Stoic man isn't cold, he's clear, not slow, but steady. He doesn't suppress emotions, he directs them, because in that pause, he sees clearer, he sees consequences, He sees opportunities, and he steps into both with a steady hand. From now on, see every moment of tension as a chance to practice. When your heart races, your face flushes, your fists clench, don't act yet. Let the moment settle, then decide how to master it. Because the man who masters the pause doesn't just win arguments, he wins himself. That's a victory worth choosing again and again. Now you see, you're not a prisoner of your emotions. You're not bound by anger, resentment, or the pressure to react. What the Stoics taught, what Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus lived, is that calm isn't given, it's forged. Restraint isn't denial, it's discipline. And peace isn't weakness, it's strength honed in silence. We've explored how anger is a habit you can break. True power comes from mastering yourself. You've seen that letting go isn't surrender, it's wisdom. Staying present is your best defense against stress. And in every moment of tension, there's a gap, a stillness where your character is shaped. This isn't theory. This is your life in how you treat your partner. Hold your ground in meetings, and know when to walk away to keep your values intact. Every moment is a chance to practice. The more you train, the more natural it becomes. That's how you stop being triggered by everything and become unshakable. I invite you to start today. Practice controlling your breath, holding your words, mastering the pause, and building a mind unmoved by what you can't control. If this message resonates, share your story in the comments. What moment recently tested you? What did you learn from holding back? We learn by reflecting and grow by helping others do the same. Because in the end, the man who masters his mind, his reactions, his energy, masters his life. And that's a strength that endures.